With My Hero Academia's 4th season fast approaching, it's time for NerdWire to go plus ultra with another crash course, this time to get you studied up before the next semester at UA begins. I'm Whitney Van Laningham, and here's everything you need to know about My Hero Academia before Season 4. Before we crack open the My Hero study guide, I want to take a quick moment to thank our super nerd sponsor of the day, Cameron Hayek. Thanks to our dude Cam, NerdWire lives to binge another day! If you like what we do and you want to help out, you can follow in Cameron's lead and donate to our Patreon via the link in the description. We've also recently teamed up with TeePublic to curate our own storefront of dope graphic tees. So if you're looking to update your style with, say, a Shazam Deku or a My Hero Endgame shirt, click our affiliate link in the description and start shopping. Now let's Detroit smash that like button and get on with the recap. My Hero Academia brings us into a world where superpowered citizens are mundane. Roughly 80% of people are born with some form of power that typically manifests by age 4 at the latest. These powers are called quirks and can range from wacky and completely useless to surprisingly OP. Like, there's a dude who turns himself into lethal origami. That's the kind of bonkers creativity you'll never see in the MCU. And it's everywhere in My Hero and gives the franchise its own signature charm. Because powers are so prevalent, the rock stars of this world are the professional heroes that use their quirks to maintain order and keep various villains and their organizations from upending society. The top hero on the quite literal hero billboard charts is none other than My Hero Superman's stand-in All Might, a smiling and shining symbol of peace. In his heyday, All Might was able to defeat the supervillain All for One, who held a long-standing mob-like control over Japan. This ushered in an era of harmony and brought Japan's crime rate down to 6%. All Might's biggest fan is our protagonist Izuku Midoriya, who desperately dreams of one day becoming a hero despite being born quirkless. Midoriya obsessively studies heroes, thinking it'll give him an edge, but honestly, he doesn't stand a chance of getting into his dream school, UA Academy, without a real superpower. As chance would have it, a D-list villain tries to hijack Midoriya's body in an attempt to escape pursuit from All Might. All Might obviously makes quick work of the wannabe Venom and saves Midoriya. As he leaps away, Midoriya clings to him, inadvertently freeing the Sledge villain. As All Might tries ditching his little hero groupie, Midoriya asks him if it's possible for a quirkless person like himself to become a pro hero. Before All Might can answer, his super strength reverts, revealing his deepest secret: that his powers have been slowly decaying after his final battle with All for One. Now he has to ration his strength to 3 hours a day. The weakened Skeletor version of All Might tells Midoriya that pro-heroics are an unobtainable goal for the quirkless. Wrecked that his personal hero crushed his dreams, Midoriya makes his way home, presumably to cry himself to death, but as fate would have it, he runs into that dang Sludge villain again. This time, he's using Midoriya's personal bully's powers to fend off a squad of heroes with explosive blasts. Said bully is Bakugo, Midoriya's shonen rival, and dare I say, one of the most endearing fictional assholes to ever grace the screen. Knowing that All Might is now powerless to free Bakugo from the Sludge villain because of him, Midoriya Leroy Jenkins into the fray to save his classmate. This act of selflessness inspires All Might into powering back up to destroy the villain. In the aftermath, All Might apologizes for discounting Midoriya and tells him that not only can he be a hero, but that his bravery has proven to All Might that he is worthy of inheriting All Might's unique quirk. Like Midoriya, All Might was once quirkless, but was chosen to be the 8th host of the quirk called One for All, a super strength stockpiling quirk that can be transferred generation to generation and gets exponentially stronger as it is passed down. All Might lays out the incredible responsibility of accepting One for All, and Midoriya agrees to become his successor. All Might has to train Midoriya for 10 months just so that he'll be strong enough to inherit only 10% of All for One. Any more, Midoriya's limbs would blast off his body. On the day of the UA entrance exams, All Might passes on this small portion of his power by having Midoriya eat a strand of his gosh darn hair. But hey, no judgment, whatever gets results. I've seen grosser protein shakes. Despite being trained by All Might, Midoriya doesn't actually know how to use his powers during this exam, meaning that he'll have to figure out a way to destroy a series of robots in a mock battle in order to secure him a place at UA on his own. With 0 points under his belt and time running out, Midoriya notices that a girl he's crushing on is about to be turned into a robot pancake, so instinctively, he uses all of his power to annihilate the colossal drone with One for All, shattering nearly every bone in his body in the process. As he falls to his certain death, the girl he saved returns the favor by slapping him silly with her levitation powers. This gal is Ochako Uraraka, and she's the sweetheart of the series. Despite their terrible combat point scores during the entrance exams, both Ochako and Midoriya make the cut thanks to their willingness to put the competition aside and save each other. The incoming UA students are split into 2 classes of 20 students. Midoriya is placed into Class 1A, and now it's time to exposition blast you with 90% of the cast according to their homeroom seating order. In seat number 1, we've got Yuga Aoyama, the cocky French kid who can shoot laser beams out of his belly button. He's so egotistical that his hero name is less of a name and more of a description. It's Can't Stop Twinkling. Next, we've got Mina, aka Pinky. She can excrete acid that she uses both for mobility and combat. Then there's everyone's favorite frog girl, Tsuyu. She's part frog and goes by Froppy. Sitting next to her is the class president, Tenya Ida, aka Ingenia. This studious speedster has engines for legs. Beside him sits Uraraka, who picks up the name Uravity. One row down is Sato, aka Sugarman. He's like the Hulk if instead of getting angry, he got a sugar high. Koji Koda, aka Anima, sits beside him, and this overly shy dude can speak to animals. Next we have Kirishima, a fan favorite bro who calls himself the Red Riot and can sharpen his body into a rock-hard weapon. One seat over we have Denki Kaminari, dubbed Charge Bolt, who can generate electricity that fries enemies and his own brain cells. He's next to Ojiro, a martial artist with a giant muscular tail. The following row starts with Shoji, or Tentacle. Shoji's quirk is Dupla arms, and his crazy tentacles can morph into other body parts. He sits next to Jiro, a rocker babe that can use her headphone jack ears to channel sonic waves in a myriad of ways. Getting even weirder than Miss Earphone Jack, we have Sero, a dude known as Cellophane that can fire tape from his elbows. He sits next to the class goth kid Tokoyami, a bird dude who struggles to control a shadow demon that his quirk manifests. Then we have Shoto Todoroki, the youngest son of the number 2 hero Endeavor. Like his father, he can control fire, but he can also control ice thanks to his mother's genes. Behind Todoroki sits the class VP Momo. Momo dubs herself Creati and can create non-living material from her skin. While Momo is a sheltered rich girl, she's also crazy smart and driven. And next to her is Mineta, aka Grape Juice. He's the unlikable class perv that's also totally a coward 90% of the time. Next, we have Midoriya. Remember him? He picks up the heroic name Deku, a word that essentially means a useless dork. It's an ironic name considering his powers, but he totally loves it unironically. To his left is Bakugo, who's pissed that Midoriya followed him to UA and is convinced that there's something suspicious going on with Deku's sudden quirk manifestation. And the last member of Class 1A is the easily forgotten Toru, my hero's take on the Invisible Girl. 1A's homeroom teacher is Shota Aizawa, the pro-hero Eraserhead, who can turn off the quirks of those in his line of sight. Aizawa has also mastered a binding band tool that he wears as a scarf and uses to capture his foes. At UA, the students begin to hone the necessary skills to eventually become pro-heroes in their own right. They practice rigorous combat training, which is made possible by the healing powers of the school nurse Recovery Girl, and they learn that strategy and teamwork will often overcome raw power. On one training mission at the Unforeseen Simulation Joint, or USJ, the students are ambushed by the League of Villains, a group that aims to use the students as bait so they can draw out All Might and kill him. This assault is headed by Tomura, a deranged teenager with a touch that can decay matter, and his lieutenant, Kurogiri, who can create dark portals. These dark portals are used to displace the students, trapping them in the chaotic attack, but each group of students is able to rally against the villains and help the professionals push them back. That is, until Tomura reveals his secret weapon, a mindless beast called Nomu, that's genetically modified to rival All Might. The Nomu turns the tides in favor of the villains until All Might shows up to rescue the students and faculty. But even All Might struggles with the Nomu. It can absorb his blows, and he already spent his super form limit earlier that day. Luckily, Deku, Todoroki, Bakugo, and Kirishima are able to reinforce All Might enough that he's able to go beyond 100% of his strength and send the Nomu into the stratosphere. This uses up all of All Might's strength, so it falls on Deku to stall Tomura long enough for the other pro-heroes to show. Once the big leaguers do show, Tomura and Kurogiri are forced to flee, but not without vowing to kill All Might in the future. In the aftermath of this attack, Class 1A has gained some notability for standing alongside the pros against the villains, but they'll have to prove their talents publicly at the UA Sports Festival. The UA Sports Festival is a highly televised competition that's a huge scouting opportunity for students that want to be signed by professional hero agencies after they graduate. Because of this, competition is fierce, particularly from Class 1B who are tired of playing second fiddle to 1A. This arc is fairly standard tournament arc stuff. We get an excuse to see our favorite heroes square off against each other, and even get a little backstory for the secondary heroes. In particular, we learn that Todoroki's father, Endeavor, hates All Might, and forced his mother to marry him so that he could genetically breed an heir capable of beating All Might. His abuse was so bad that Todoroki's mother gave him that Zuko scar, because he resembled his father so much. We also learn that Ida comes from a professional hero family, and that his brother Ingenium has been severely injured by the hero killer Stain during the last legs of the tournament. As for the tournament itself, we get to see Midoriya ride a hunk of sheet metal in a race, Ochako nearly knocks out Bakugo, Kirishima makes a metal bro, Midoriya helps Todoroki embrace his fire powers, and Bakugo wins the whole shebang, but has to get dragged out in cuffs because he's raging that Todoroki didn't go all out in their match. Oh, and we also get to witness whatever this is. After the sports festival, the students pick up internships with hero agencies. Midoriya gets placed with All Might's childhood homeroom teacher, Gran Torino, who urges that he re-examine his use of One For All. This leads Midoriya to develop a new technique where he channels One For All equally throughout his body. He calls it full cowling, and it allows him to be more consistent in his use of his power. Other notable internships include Ochako, who trains under the battle hero Gunhead, turning her into a kung fu badass. Todoroki interns with his father, and Froppy interns with the aquatic hero Selkie to fight some pirates. Ida takes an internship in Hosu City, using it for a cover so that he can hunt down the hero killer Stain and avenge his brother. While all of this is going down, All Might's detective friend informs him that they researched the Nomu from the USJ attack and informs him that he used to be a common thug before someone altered his DNA and granted him multiple quirks. This leads All Might to deduce that his arch-nemesis, All For One, has returned, since his quirk is that he can steal and grant quirks to others. We learn that All For One is generations old, and that the original holder of One For All was his seemingly quirkless kid brother that was granted a power stockpiling quirk by All For One. This quirk merged with the brother's latent power bestowal quirk and was passed down throughout the ages in hopes that a bearer would eventually defeat All For One in his reign of terror. Back in Hosu, Tomura has failed to recruit Stain into his League of Villains, and in retaliation for cutting him, he unleashes 3 new Nomu monsters onto the city to kill him. These Nomu are fairly crap at finding Stain, and instead just wreak havoc on the city. In the midst of the Nomu attack, Ida stumbles across Stain and stops him from killing another pro, but succumbs to Stain's blood-curdling quirk. Midoriya and Todoroki also happen to be in Hosu during the attack, and come to Ida's aid. By working together, the 3 are able to incapacitate the hero killer, while Gran Torino and Endeavor take care of the Nomu. Stain does briefly escape and saves Deku from a Nomu, as he views him as an honorable hero, but ultimately, the injuries he sustained from Ida's kick renders him unconscious right before he goes on another killing spree. Unfortunately, because the students were unlicensed during the battle, they have to let Endeavor take full credit for the apprehension of Stain, else their future careers would be ruined. After the week of internships, regular school life starts back up. During this period, All Might informs Midoriya that All For One has returned, and that he's the brains behind the League of Villains. This brings us to the final exams, where the students are paired up and have to best their own teachers in combat. There are a surprising amount of wins during the exam period, with only 5 students failing. Of note, we see Momo and Todoroki beat Aizawa, and Deku and Bakugo put aside their rivalry to overpower All Might. And now for some movie spoilers! Skip ahead to this time code if you haven't seen Two Heroes yet. During the summer break, All Might gets an invitation from his old American sidekick David Shield to attend the I-Island Expo, the leading technology showcase in the world of My Hero. All Might brings Midoriya as his +1, but the rest of 1A also find a way onto the island for the expo because movie. At the opening reception dinner, a group of terrorists attack and capture All Might. With the help of Dave's brilliant daughter Melissa, Class 1A fights their way through the expo to find that the attack was supposed to be a harmless and elaborate ruse by Dave in order to steal one of his own inventions. Dave had planned to take back a quirk amplification device in an attempt to prevent All Might from losing his powers, unaware that he had passed the torch already to Midoriya. This smokescreen, however, was hijacked by All For One, who hired the villain Wolfram to steal the device and use it to kill All Might. Thanks to 1A and the shields, All Might is freed and he tag teams with Deku for a double Detroit smash that knocks the snot out of the enhanced Wolfram. Also during the summer, both UA classes go on a field trip to a forest training camp where they'll push their quirks to the limit in preparation for their next semester. This camp is led by a cat-themed hero team called the Wild Wild Pussycats. One member of the Pussycats, Mandalay, is watching over her nephew after his pro-hero parents were brutally killed. Midoriya tries to befriend the boy, but is given the cold shoulder. On the 3rd night of camp, the classes are split into teams of 2 for a test of bravery, with 1A having to brave the forest and 1B trying to scare them. Suddenly, a pink mist fills the forest and starts knocking students unconscious. As it turns out, the League of Villains have decided to ambush the UA students once again, this time by sending a new elite wave of villains. Notable villains from this squad include Dabi, a sadistic pyro, Toga, a sadistic knife-wielding shapeshifter, and Moonfish, a sadistic orthodontist nightmare. They're also supported by the villain Twice, who can duplicate others and himself. When trying to rescue the child, Koda, Midoriya comes face to face with strength villain Muscular, who also happens to be the one responsible for Koda's parents' deaths. To save Koda, Deku pushes himself to 1,000,000% of his standard fighting power, knocking out Muscular but severely damaging his arms in the process. In the heat of the battle, Muscular lets slip that the villains are targeting Bakugo, so the students play defense, despite Bakugo's objections. Ultimately, Bakugo is successfully captured by Mr. Compress, who marbleizes him and takes him to the League of Villains hideout, where they plan to turn the sports festival champion into a full-fledged villain. Luckily, Momo is able to create a tracking device that a Class B student attaches to the villain's Nomu. At the hideout, Bakugo essentially calls the villain scrubs and refuses to waver from his heroic path. Elsewhere, the 1A students have gone undercover to rescue Bakugo while the media starts to turn the public opinion against the pro-heroes. While investigating the location of the tracking device, the students witness a hero squad led by Best Jeanist take out a horde of Nomu and discover the Pussycat Ragdoll, now quirkless. To their shock, All For One appears out of the shadows, thanking them for Ragdoll's mass surveillance quirk. Concurrently, another hero squad led by All Might raids the hideout that Tomura and his goons are holding Bakugo. At first, the heroes have clear control of the situation, until All For One unleashes an ambush of Nomu on the heroes and teleports away the villains and Bakugo. All Might rushes to the second location and squares off against All For One, while Bakugo battles the villains. Knowing that All Might is holding back his full power as to not accidentally injure the outnumbered Bakugo, the kids devise a plan to extract Bakugo from the fight. They swoop in and the weakened pro-heroes run interference. To protect his protege Tomura, All For One forcibly sends the League of Villains through a portal. The world watches on as the battle between All For One and All Might levels the city. As All Might's power begins to falter, All For One taunts him about the death of his mentor, Nana, the previous holder of One For All. To add insult to injury, All For One reveals that Tomura is actually Nana's grandson, that he groomed to take advantage of All Might's sentimentality. As other pro-heroes show up to assist in the fight, they remind All Might that he's the #1 hero for a reason. Seeing that his career has inspired his peers and hearing that the whole world is cheering for him in spite of his weakened state, he gains a second wind. All Might channels the last embers of One For All into a United States of Smash, defeating All For One. As All For One is hauled off to Tartarus prison, All Might turns to camera and sends Midoriya a coded message, letting him know that One For All is now his responsibility. With the symbol of peace gone, the government fears that villains will start taking advantage of the shifting power dynamic. Because of this, the age for Provisional Heroes License test is decreased, meaning that the UA students can now earn the right to fight villains without reprimand. Before the license exam, the students are instructed to upgrade their costumes and develop new signature moves. Because Recovery Girl has warned Midoriya that any more use of One For All could irrevocably injure his arms, he develops the shoot style where he channels his attacks into his legs. At the provisional license exams, 1A not only faces a rivalry from 1B, but also a myriad of other schools aiming to prove their own worth. This leads to another short tournament arc, where the UA students all team up to make sure that they'll pass together. During the first test of the exam, Midoriya is attacked by a doppelganger of Ochiko, who morphs into another student, Kami. It's later revealed that the shapeshifter is that knife-happy villain Toga, who can mimic the appearance and quirks of those whose blood she ingests. Sero and Ochiko scare her off, but not before she gets a blood sample from Midoriya. During the exam, we meet Inasa, an airbender with a bone to pick with Endeavor and Todoroki, Ms. Joke, a pro-hero that can stop villains with comedy, a vibration hero that pretty much is just a handsomer Deku, and a dude who can turn people into meatballs. Yep. During the final test, Bakugo, Todoroki, and Inasa all fail for failing to cooperate with each other, but the rest of 1A passes. After the exams, Bakugo is reeling from his failure, but deduces that Midoriya must have been given his quirk from All Might. Jealous that he wasn't chosen for One For All, and guilty that his capture led to All Might's retirement, Bakugo challenges Deku to a duel. It's a close match, but Bakugo refuses to lose to Midoriya and comes out on top. All Might breaks up the fight and tells Bakugo the truth, apologizing for neglecting his other student. Bakugo swears to protect the secret of One For All, while simultaneously vowing to become the #1 hero that'll surpass even All Might's strength. Elsewhere in Japan, crime is on the rise, and the public is not exactly jazzed that Endeavor is the new #1 hero. This is while Tomura fills up his ranks with villains to avenge All For One. Twice brings a new powerhouse in for an interview with the League of Villains. This is Overhaul, and we'll be seeing plenty of him and his matter manipulation powers in Season 4. We'll also be spending a lot of time with UA's top 3 senior students. In the final episode of Season 3, these upperclassmen were brought in by Aizawa to brief 1A on the work-study internships that they'll be participating in for the upcoming semester. Most notably of the big 3 is Mirio Tagada, a chipper student with a phasing quirk. Not only is Tagada UA's most promising student, but he was the top candidate for One For All, prior to All Might meeting Midoriya. Now, Tagada works with Sir Night-Eye, All Might's former sidekick with precognition abilities. Night-Eye has been keeping tabs on Overhaul, so there's bound to be a clash in the coming season. And that's the story of My Hero Academia so far! Let me know what you're excited to see next season and what quirk you'd want in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to NerdWire and check out the videos to the left of my face. Another special thanks to our Patreon donors, and until next time, keep it plus ultra.